views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And coming up on this special edition of Perspectives, we tackle front and center the issue of race relations in America. Our expert panel and experienced panel will weigh in on some and give us some solid solutions from their perspective. And that's coming up on Perspectives with yours truly, Darren Jaime.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective? Let 'em know.
Hello, and thank you for joining us as we continue part 2 of this very special edition of Perspectives. I'm Darren Jaime, and of course we invite you to stay connected to us. And we want to thank you for joining us here on Perspectives as we are now in season number 15. It's hard to believe, but 15 years of Perspectives bringing you news, information, and the current events that you need to know. Coming up front and center on this edition of Perspectives, we continue in our very special 2-part special on race relations, an intensive and informative discussion. Our topic of discussion, racial tone and discontent in America. Let me reintroduce our panel. They were here last week, and now they're here again this week. Raised in the Bronx, our first guest is known as a leader for this generation, a preacher, a teacher, a singer, a motivational speaker, social activist. He's been recently appointed as the National Director for Public Relations for Healing Communities USA, for whom he is also a certified trainer. He's also at LaGuardia Community College. We welcome Bishop Darren Ferguson. Also joining us, a black historian in her own right. Her experience includes being the managing editor of the Million Man March, contributor and researcher of the Family of Black America, co-editor of Black Star Power, BET, celebrating 20 years, and the author of Discovering Black New York. And we also talked to her name, she's no stranger here, Linda Tarrant Reed. And we also have Francois Genty, who is the community organizer, I should say, for the Haitian American Caucus. He's here with us as well. And then lastly, William Council, who's professionally and affectionately known as Coach Billy, 32-year veteran of the legendary New York City basketball circuit. He's devoted his past 17 years of his life to instilling values, morals, and discipline in today's youth throughout the art of basketball. We welcome you all to the show again as we continue on this edition. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our first week, we talked a lot about the racial tone and what it's like to be, the race relations in America. And then we talk about really how do we improve this? And a part of what we want to talk about is, what are some of the solutions that we can do? And I want to ask, and I'll start first of all with you today, Francois. When you talk about race relations, as you are the millennial in the group, right? So millennials, they have the opportunity, and you guys do. You perfect diversity. Mm-hmm. You guys talk to a lot of people. You talk across the board,
right?
And have the opportunity to hear from different people, and in many ways aren't scared to bridge the gap. But for those people who may be from different communities, different races, what do they hear? What are you hearing from them about this whole racial divide?
I have a couple of friends who are from different communities, and what I'm hearing from them, and when they see these things on television and as they're following the debate, is it's almost like an unveiling to them, to most of them, whereas they didn't know that, I didn't know you guys went through that. I didn't know that if a cop was there, I didn't know how nervous you get. I didn't understand why you were like that. It's almost like an unveiling to them, but the conversation stays open in a sense where I'm able to communicate with them without a sense of judgment, they judging me and me judging them for being ignorant of my experiences. It's more on the sense of we understand each other and we understand what's going on in each other's lives. So from a millennial standpoint, There's not much race issues in the sense of different cultures, but there are racial issues where there are some millennials who their parents, they have different views, and then they don't see the reason for a movement such as Black Lives Matter. They don't see the reason why we're complaining about certain things or why we're protesting for certain things. They don't see the necessity for the movement that's going on right now.
And what do you hear from your youth? I mean, obviously you spend a lot of time and you've been around dealing with youth front and center. What is the voice of the youth these days?
They're scared. You know, they're scared that every time they see a cop, they have to worry about what's going to happen next. So it's kind of ironic that you hear the word fear when you hear police nowadays. But what I think they want to say is, how can we not be scared? And I think one of the things that we need to do, with community policing, we need to bring the community and the police officers together. You know, we need to have more minority cops in the minority neighborhoods who will be able to talk the talk that these young men and women talk. You know, and I think that's one of the things that will probably help us if we can kind of, bridge that gap.
Bishop Ferguson, beyond police community relations within our community, the whole issue of race in itself, obviously trying to improve that and improving the racial relationship, where does the responsibility lie in that? Does it lie upon others to improve, or does it rely upon us to make some more improvement?
I think there's a shared responsibility amongst us all. I think those of us who have a calling to serve people, whether that be in the ecclesia or in academics or in the private sector, I think we all have a responsibility to make sure that we spread the message and at least open ourselves up to understand other cultures. I think there's a shared responsibility from my perspective as a pastor, that I remember what Gardner C. Taylor said, right? He said that a preacher that's worth anything preaches with the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other. So we can't be closed off, and I think what's happening in a lot of segments of our populations, we become closed off. It becomes so intense and it becomes so painful to watch. Watching Eric Garner say, "I can't breathe" 18 times, and seeing that 1,000 times. Seeing Philando Castile's girlfriend say, "You didn't just kill my boyfriend, did you?" Watching these murders over and over again on social media has kind of numbed us to it, so we get to a place where we don't want to talk about it. But we have to have a space where we can not just talk about it, but we can reason together across racial lines, across economic lines, across lines of gender, across lines of denominations and religion. We have to have these conversations, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're LGBT, Baptist, Pentecostal, AME, Zion. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor. Though all these issues affect us in one way or another. And until we have a real, open, honest dialogue about white privilege, black apathy, systemic racism, about the inherent racism that we've adopted as black people, attitudes about ourselves. Black people got bad credit. Black people don't take care of their babies. All of these things that we say about ourselves help this national narrative continue that makes us vulnerable to some of the things that we see going on at Donald Trump rallies.
And let me ask you about this, Linda. Give me some historical context on this. The conversation about race and the way that we're having conversations about race, and it seems as though we're having it it's more prevalent, it's more open, it's out there front and center. Is this the best that we've seen it in terms of discussing race relations throughout history?
I can't tell you about throughout history, but I can tell you that, during the civil rights movement in the 60s, the conversation was everywhere about race and what we were prevented from doing. Housing, jobs, transportation, all of that was front and center in the 60s, and how we were prevented from participating in the American life, fully and without prejudice. A lot of that has really not changed. It has gone underground. My perspective is that as a writer and a teacher, I talk to the young people. I am teaching kids as young as 2nd grade about history, so they understand exactly what happened in the past, so that they can appreciate other people's cultures. Because I think what has happened is we have segregated ourselves. We segregate ourselves in our community, in our churches, And we have fear not only of the police, but we have fear of other people's cultures. And I think the important thing is to educate the young people, because they are our future, and to actually provide programming and also information. I think the community policing is a very important step for people at this level, so that we can help our young people understand what's going on and the relationships that are developing.
In the United States right now, high crime rates continue to plague the African American community. We're going to talk about what solutions are out there to help deal with the high crime rates in the black community. How do we turn the tide on this? That's coming up next, right after this.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Every Monday night at 9, we talk to the borough's movers and shakers about the latest in Bronx politics, education, healthcare, arts and culture, and literally any and everything that's important to the people of the Bronx. There's a reason why Bronxites have been turning to Bronx Talk for more than 20 years, because Bronx Talk is about you and me, the people of the Bronx. So we'll see you Monday night at 9.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
We are back here on Perspectives. Darren Jaime, glad to have you here with us. We're continuing our conversation, talking about race relations in America, our very esteemed panel. And let me go right at it. Look, we talked before the break about high crime rates in the urban community, African American community. What are some of the solutions? We talk about, we hear about it, we hear the word, and I know Bishop Ferguson doesn't like black on black crime, but it's true. You look at Chicago, what's going on? You see these high crime rates. What can be done and what will be done to stem this tide and turn it around?
I think, one, we need more jobs. I think we need more community centers. I think we need more mentors. And we need more activists in our community to really get involved with the youth and, you know, give them a different side of their community. We need to start, you know, taking our kids to see other things. We need to have our kids a little bit off of social media for a while. Like, you know, as parents, sometimes we have to sit there and say, you know what, let's get off of social media, because social media becomes blinding. It becomes sort of like poison, because you see, you know, when I was speaking to some of my players one day, and it went back to, you know, what's on social media. You know, the jury, the cars, the girls, and everything else. So that's all they see. So now we have to educate them and give them other things, you know, which could help them, you know, continue their growth and continue to see other things, excel from that perspective.
I agree. There's so much out here, especially like in New York City, that people can be exposed to other than social media. I mean, in Washington, D.C., as you know, we just opened the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Which is sold out till
March. Right, exactly.
I want you to understand, sold out till March. As a matter of fact, somebody said today, April. That's the word I got this morning.
And to me, that's an indication on how hungry our communities are, to find out about the history of blacks in America and the history of Africans and people of color all over the world. I mean, I feel that our young people have to be centered, and the way that you become centered is you get to know yourself, you get to know your history. You become proud of all of this struggle. You become proud of the achievements, and you only learn that through reading, through mentors, and through programs that actually promote that kind of expedient knowledge.
I understand you said we should get off social media, but
here comes the millennial, y'all.
What I will say is social media is it is what you make it. The content that's on there, it's an extension of your friends and the people you associate yourself with, and you have to kind of create your own content on there on social media and what you receive. You can block if you don't want to see garbage, you can block garbage or whatever.
So let me throw it in here. So I have more than 4,000 something friends on Facebook, right?
Right.
But the truth is, all of them are my friends, first of all. But second of all, as I look on there, I try to go through my timeline for the positive people that I can find. I got to weed through it. I really have to work hard to find something positive with my 4,000 people. So, I mean, I get that, but how work me through this?
Well, there's some settings on Facebook where you can set it.
And I got those, and I use those too. Go ahead.
You can set it to see what you can see. But also, yes, I do agree with them. I don't agree. I don't agree in the sense where you should completely take them off or like put them on pause. But I do agree that social media is invading our brains, and it's taking us away from things that we can be open to. I feel like there should be a lot more programs within our communities. There's a lack of programs within our communities that's preventing our children from my peers from going out there and getting involved and getting off social media. There's nothing to go to. If there's nothing to go to, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna continue what we're doing.
I spoke to a group of people earlier, and I said that social media is the new electronic crack in our community. It really is. It really is.
But I also think that there's a way, as he just said, about editing. I remember originally on social media, putting up pictures of family vacations and, different things, restaurants and all that other stuff. And then I realized this is a tool. This is a tool to market the things that I'm doing or the positive things that are happening. So that's how my social media, my Facebook page, my Twitter, now it's all about African American history or some important event that is occurring that I want those people to know about.
I think I'm in agreement with everybody. I'm big on social media as a tool, as a networking tool, as a tool to disseminate information. And also for me, it's a litmus test because I have people my age, I have my old classmates from high school and stuff all, but also I have to have kids that I work with at the college and the people I have at the church. So it's a litmus test. My timeline becomes like a litmus test for what's going on. What are people thinking? Where are their heads at? What are they thinking about? What kind of memes are they putting up? What are they talking about? Right? So that gives me an opportunity to insert myself into the conversation. And as far as our children are concerned, I think that the same way that my mother had conversations with me about the music that I was listening to. So I had 2 turntables in the mix in the house when I was a kid, right? And I'm
no mic, no mic, no mic, no mic.
I had a microphone too. I'm cutting and scratching Good Times, and I'm listening to Grandmaster Flash and the Treacherous 3 and all that. And my mother made me break down the music and tell me what it meant. And I did the same thing with my daughter. I'll never forget, we were listening to Jay-Z's Rock La Familia. And we sat down and went through every song. And when he did this on Drunk Off Chris, Mommy on E, Can't Keep a Little Model Hands Off Me, I made my daughter break that down for me. What does that mean? And we had a conversation about it. So now, every time she listens to Jay-Z and she hears that lyric, I'm in her head already. So the mentoring piece comes from parents and mentors and people who want to work with our kids being mental ninjas. That's what my friend Alfonso, my Dr. Alfonso White says, right? You be a mental ninja. You get in their heads. You get to color what they're thinking. You get to filter. You be the filter for your children. You be the filter for your mentees by inserting your wisdom, your knowledge, your understanding, your experience into them, and then they're listening and seeing all of this stuff through their own views, but also colored with what you taught them.
You've had great success, and talk to us about how do you do that? How do you filter and become that filter for young people, particularly when you're talking about the issue of race and racism?
I think one of the things with that is you have to become intimate. And when I mean intimate, I mean like Bishop said, you have to be involved, right? So with my players who I still mentor and still speak to that have gone on to play overseas in the NBA, you know, we still have that family relationship. You know, I think every player that I have coached is my nephew, and that's what I go by with them. And one of the things that I let them know that all the time, that you are a black man and you are a king, right? And you always follow your path and follow your dreams and follow your aspirations. And those are the things that they want to hear. Like kids, you know, young men and young women, as I like to say, they like and they want the guidance. They want the mentoring, but they want to be able to come to somebody who understands them. You know, and a lot of times when I used to speak to parents, and I still speak to parents, one of the things that we do as parents, we always force the rules to them. And sometimes, you know, the kids don't want to hear the rules. You know, they want to hear the truth. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to kind of break the rule to get back to them. And like I always tell people, no matter what I do, basketball is a carrot. You know, it's like kids want the nourishment. They want it, but you got to give them something that makes them want to come to you. And I think that's one of the things that I have provided my career.
So as we talk a little bit about really making this, bridging this gap, and bridging the gap with young people, obviously, are we failing or are we succeeding when it comes to that? And particularly when we're talking about race.
I think we're succeeding. And the reason I say that we're succeeding is because what I'm seeing, and maybe not succeeding at the rate that we want to or at the level that we want to, but I think we have elevated the conversation. And I can give you one scenario that nails it for me, right? And it's not necessarily about race, but it is. So I run a mentoring program at the college, right? And so I'm recruiting young black males to come in, right? And so this one and I recruited a bunch of hardcore kids from Brooklyn. I found about this, yo man, you gotta come to this meeting. So I'm thinking about all these kids that come in. One kid comes in, he's definitely gay, he has on a wig and he has on high heels, and he comes and sits there and crosses his leg. And now I'm looking at this with my 52-year-old lens is going, this is not gonna end well, right? So what happens is, the kid who I'm thinking about, this tough Brooklyn kid who I talked to in the hallway, he comes in, he sees the kid sitting there, and he looks at him, and I'm going, oh boy, I don't know what to do. And he looks at the kid, he said, yo, what's up, man? He's in dap, and he sits down. So the message was that these young people, these millennials, really have it, they understand things a little bit better than we do, right? In the sense that, okay, maybe I don't agree with that, maybe I'm not down with that, but I could learn something about that it's okay for him to be who he is. And that wasn't always the case. And I think if we take that lesson, I think, so there has to be an exchange of ideas. The point is, has to be an exchange of ideas. We have to learn from them because they know some stuff that we don't know. And then we have to give them the opportunity to learn from us in terms of our history, our culture, and our knowledge.
Yeah, I'm going to commercial. I think about the one thing, social media, where I watched it on social media. It was a young black boy. He was returning, a little kid. He was returning back to class. He had been sick for a while. And there was a bunch of white kids in his class, and they go in and they're all kissing him on the head, and they're like, it's like they get it. It's kids, they get it.
Yes.
They're doing something that we really should be doing and really should be practicing. Listen, gotta take a break and be back with more show. Just a few more minutes because we're wrapping up in a few right after this. Linda, you're on deck.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right. Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead. We only have 3 minutes. Linda got to jump in. Hold on, Linda. Go ahead.
I was just we were talking about kids and education and how a 5th grader or a 5-year-old kid doesn't realize, the colors because they're brought up in a world, thank God, with parents like you and parents like you, that they can do anything and that they're accepted. I'm doing some teaching at Riverdale Country in the Bronx, and I'm teaching about African American history. And these young people from all different backgrounds are so open to the experience, and that they start, riffing on the history and taking it to places that I didn't even imagine that they could go to. And this is 5th grade. So yes, am I thankful that they're so progressive? Am I thankful that they are our future? Yes, because I do think that there's an impact.
Quickly, I'm going around the horn. What could be done from your position? Tell somebody real in a couple seconds. Racial divide, bridging it. What can somebody out there do to be more effective?
To be more effective, you just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of your surroundings and be considerate of everybody who's around you, whether it be race, culture, a different divide. It starts with the individual. If the individual is good, then that'll push us forward.
Got to be the clergy person.
Yes.
Love. Love covers a multitude of sins. And I believe that if we teach love, if we preach love, if we exemplify love, if we live in love, if we walk in love, and if we show love, then it's reciprocal and we'll get it back.
I think one of the things we need to do is, in the education system, we need to teach about everyone's culture, not just one.
It's important. And I want to thank you guys for coming and sharing an hour, 2 shows, 2 weeks in a row. You guys have been with us on the show. We want to thank you because having this conversation really is informational, but then there's also a little bit of healing going on too, because there are a lot of people who want to have a conversation or at least have their feelings affirmed. And I think some of the things that you said in the course of these last 2 weeks have really affirmed people's feelings and thoughts. So thank you very much for coming and being our guest here on Perspectives. And we got to have you all back again. All righty, listen, we're about out of show here. Want to thank you for watching this 2-part special about race relations in America, race and our young people, what we can do to bridge the gap. I invite you to stay connected to us. Now you can go to BronxNet.org. There's the website where you can find out more about BronxNet and Perspectives. There you can also share your, your information. And, oh, by the way, social media, right? Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Listen, Darren C. Jaime is the professional page, and we talk about all this stuff. So, listen, stay connected to us. We want to be connected to you. Thank you for watching. Until next time we meet, stay safe, share your perspective with somebody else. It just might make a difference in someone else's life.
On your decisions, cause in the long run it's your voice, your views, your vision, keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective, which shines a light, cause it might make a difference in someone else's life. What's your perspective? Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective. What's your perspective? Let them know.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. What? Picking a college, man. You and us go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.